That's right, friends. It's time for Doom. Your doom is at hand. We are on part 3. We are going through the Book of Doom Omnibus, and we are finally into a section where I feel like I have read a ton, and Tiny Doom is apt for this. We're going to get a lot of tiny characters going on in this story tonight. I'm saying we time and again because this show is part and parcel with my friend, the Dr. Doom fan club himself. Stu.
John, my man, what is up? How are you, sir?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as always, my man. I'm so glad to be doing this with you, as I said before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so glad to get into it tonight.
Keeps trucking.
Indeed, it does. And as you said, it is a night of many occurrences. I guess we can say.
I mean, yeah, it's funny when we parceled this together into 4 sections. I noticed right away that almost everything that I feel I had read and had knowledge of occurred in the 3rd section.
Okay, that's awesome. Hell yeah.
I was like, okay, I have hardly read any of the like 2000s and on stuff. And I hadn't read a ton of the like Silver Age, just a bit here and there. But this is, some of this Byrne, Secret Wars, these graphic novels that we're discussing tonight. I feel like this was my wheelhouse, and ultimately the impetus that was like, hey, if I like that, I'm probably gonna love the rest of this. Let's get this whole omnibus and check it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm in the same vein for some of it. Definitely the Byrne stuff. I know you're a big Secret Wars guy, and I'm not the biggest fan of the first one, but sure. So I'm glad that we only had 10, 11, and 12 to get through for this one.
It's the better stuff as far as Doom is concerned anyways.
Absolutely. And it's always great to see Mike Zeck on doing Doom, dude. He does such an incredible job.
I mean, yeah, we've got 2 Marvel graphic novels. We've got art by John Byrne and Mike Zeck all through this section. This was some strong artwork overall for sure.
It really was. It was a strong. I feel like this is a really strong era for Doom. You know what I mean? It's really strong stories, really strong art. There are a lot of there's a lot of origin type things going on in the previous two issues that we covered, but there's a lot of like huge Doom moments, landmark moments for the character that occur across these issues.
Absolutely.
And in the Marvel universe at large.
Yeah. Yeah, the implications spread far and wide, as we see in this section here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's say hello to some friends in the chat. While I'm doing that, please subscribe to Stu. His link is down below because we'll be there for the finale part 4 on his channel next month. I'm excited because, like I said, it's a ton of stuff I've never read, including the mini-series Books of Doom, which kind of is where this omnibus gets its title. So I'm very excited to read that storyline. You'll want to be over there for that concluding episode. So make sure you're subscribed up for that.
That one's going to be so much fun.
We got Rob Boswell. He says, I'm chewing gum and kicking ass and I'm all out of bubble gum. That's a Doom quote, right? We're reattributing that to Doom.
I like it.
Matt in Clemson. What's up, Matty? Matt? Good to see you, sir. If you guys missed it, he was on No Good Comics live stream on Wednesday night doing his comic book origins. It was a wonderful show. We got Rod the Rican in the chat. What's going on? Rod, he had that notification bell clicked. He was like, I know John's going live. I'm going to be there. And speaking of which, we got Ruben Guzman, White Tiger, in the chat. He says, Cowabunga, Doombots. What's going on, Ruben? Good to see you, sir. So, yeah, like we said at the top of the show, this is the 3rd portion of the omnibus as we go through the Book of Doom omnibus. And this section, we're finally getting into the John Byrne FF. We had a lot of the Kirby and Stan Lee stuff from the early days of Fantastic Four, because obviously that, even my wife, who doesn't know hardly anything about Dr. Doom, she's seen all the Marvel movies. She's heard enough of me talking about X-Men and things. I said, I'm talking about Dr. Doom tonight. She's like, doesn't he hang out with the Fantastic Four? I was like, I couldn't say no. It was not wrong, but at the same time, hang out might be the wrong adjective or the wrong verb there. But absolutely. Yes, very much entwined historically, Dr. Doom and the Fantastic Four. So it was fun for me, at least, getting into the Byrne era here a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a fan of Doom, you got to be a fan of Fantastic Four. You can't be one thing and not the other.
And it's funny that you say it that way, because I would have said before this omnibus, I was like, I like the FF, they're fine, but I haven't read a ton of them. I like Dr. Doom a ton, and it's because I think I always found him through the X-Men, right? Through Storm. I was always like, oh, look, Doom and the X-Men. They're always like, yeah, they hang out sometimes. And every time he came in, he so owns the issue, right?
Yes, he
when
does.
Doom comes in, there's no room for anybody else.
No, there isn't. So what's been your experience reading the team through the Byrne era? Have you enjoyed the story, the team, purely like the team dynamic, or do you
Absolutely
like it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think the issue I always have had with the Fantastic Four is the same one I have with Silver Age Avengers, which is generally, as a rule, my favorite characters in comics are women, and Stan Lee sucks at writing women, and
he does,
and the female characters are, not even secondary thoughts; they're like tertiary thoughts in a lot of ways. And Sue Storm, I think, is treated worst of all of them. I think she's, in my opinion, the character I like most on the Fantastic Four. And it's not until this Byrne era that I finally see her at least getting her due, and I think in a lot of ways I was waiting for that. And it may have been that the majority of FF that I've read, I guess maybe even to this point, was Stan Lee stuff. And that was the biggest turn. I mean, because I love, and we'll get into a little bit of the issues in the 50s. I love that era. When you're talking about the Black Panther appearancing for the first time, the Inhumans, the Galactus, Silver Surfer. There's so many vital moments, and there's a couple we might talk a little bit about tonight that fit into that time frame of when I feel like the Fantastic Four was hitting on a lot of cylinders and really becoming something special and expanding beyond what it was for me, and what I have read of issues maybe 1 through 40, I like a lot less than what I've read from 40 to 60, where I was like, ooh, something happened. Somebody ate a vitamin that week, and it became a different book in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think comics were changing too. You know what I mean? And that
very good point.
That definitely helped. That definitely helped shape things. But yeah,
and it was the same for me for ASM when they got into the 120s range somewhere, where you have Death of Gwen Stacy, you've got Punisher appearing. There were some big things happening in the 120s of ASM between the death of Gwen Stacy and the first Punisher. I felt like, and it may be the man wolf in me, because he gets a storyline in there too, but like that storyline or that chunk in time resonates for me the same way that 50s and 40s run of FF does.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I completely agree with you about Byrne kind of, turning Sue, elevating her character to a whole new platform and pedestal throughout this run, especially later on down the line, with Malice and everything. It's powerful, good stuff. So,
and I've only read until this chunk, I've only read sporadic issues. I've never read like storylines or like a stretch of FF by Byrne. The FF by Byrne that I have read, because he did a considerable number of issues, has just been like catch as catch can. Like, I read this one issue here, I read that one issue there. It was very rarely that I would sit and read a whole stretch of Byrne's Fantastic Four, and that's partly what I've kind of enjoyed, because this particular section that we're talking about tonight includes six issues of Byrne's Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and we get like a good little linked up story arc as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're gonna go back at the end maybe and talk a little, or do you want to start with the 57 stuff, the issues that we kind of feel like the omnibus skipped?
It's whatever you want to do.
I kind of want to go back to it at the end.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's just as like a note to folks watching along with us. Stu mentioned it really astutely that there are a handful of issues Kirby and Lee did that impact this section specifically of the omnibus that were excluded from the omnibus, not included. Now, obviously, this omnibus is massive. It's like 60 something comics, and several of them are like oversized, giant sized, triple sized books. So it's not like they can include everything, but I do think, and it is an odd that you, like you said, it's an odd omission. So we'll spend a little time talking about those issues at the end here, because Silver Surfer fans and comic book chronological, like continuity fans, I think would appreciate knowing the books were excluded, but what happened in them, kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's pick up where we left off in this omnibus. The moment that we ended was with those Iron Man issues, those great 149, 150, and we jumped from there to Burn FF issue 236. And for those that don't know, this is one of those giant-sized issues. This was the 20th anniversary of the Fantastic Four, and as if this cover doesn't show you just how jam-packed the issue is. There is a ton going on here.
Yeah, it reminds me of that, like the Wedding of Reed and Sue cover that
right?
You know what I mean? Just like everybody in the Marvel universe inside of it. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's kind of fun, like cover-wise, just seeing Byrne cut loose and just give you the entire Marvel universe in one big go.
Yeah. He had a great covers, great opening pages, man. I think I think he really knew how to grab your attention and keep it early on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for basics for this issue, plot wise, and if I miss anything, obviously Stu's going to help me out here because there's a lot to remember. But this issue is a fun, almost like an annual. It's almost like a standalone story where we have the FF seemingly living different lives, and they're having strange kind of nightmares about maybe living the FF life that we know, but instead they're living in this small town. I think it's called like Littleton or Littleville,
yeah.
And Reed's a professor, and Ben is working in a restaurant. He's like a chef at a restaurant or something. And Johnny, they've all, Sue and Reed are still together, and they're living a happy life together. But none of them have powers. There are no superheroes. They're just sort of living, and yet all of them feeling like they've missed something. Right?
Yes.
There's something wrong, and they're having dreams and visions and trying to piece it all together. And astute fans will recognize the puppet master as a character kind of in the background in this small town, setting us up with the understanding that this is some sort of illusion. Something is askew here. And so part one of this giant double-sized book is them realizing what's going on. Part two is once they know that Dr. Doom has basically trapped them in this stasis universe. How do we get out? How do we stop him? How do we foil this, this situation that we're in? And it sort of ends, the ending is like the story is sort of flipped on Doom, because now he's kind of trapped in this universe and his body is in stasis outside of it, and the heroes are set free. And that's kind of what is, I mean, did I sum it up well?
No, you did a great job. Yes, you did a great job. And that carries into our next issue in a way. But yeah, absolutely. It's a great one and done. I think it reminded me, Ryan North did a story like this early on in his FF run where Reed and Sue run into this town that's full of androids, and Doom, they're all Doom bots that he's programmed to take care of this one old woman, I think, that he was fond of or helped him out earlier in life or something like that. So it's very much like that, like this town. And I love when Doom first reveals himself, and how right you are. Like, who could it be, Richards? I wonder. Yeah, and there's that great shot of all of them like in a circle, knocked out with the mind control on.
Yeah, the little helmet things on them. And
yeah, just a great Doom announcement. And man, he does, like, we'll get to it, but yeah, I saw the Puppet Master show up in this comic, and I immediately am reminded, you can't forget about that guy's fate later on. And I was like, oh man, this is not going to end well for our boy. So he's kind of helped Doom out. And at first we do think he is the archetype behind that, or the architect behind this whole town and everything. But Reed knows it's going to take a villain of considerably more resources to be able to pull something like this off.
We got a couple homies who jumped in here. What's up, Cliff? I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
And we got Matt, the boy who had 7, one of my moderators in the chat. What's going on, Matty? Good to see you, my guy.
Good to see y'all.
So what did you think of this issue? How, it is kind of an annual, it is kind of a one shot. It's almost like even whatever, the issues that come after, as much as they connect to it, it still feels like this could be read independently,
Absolutely. Like you said, I think you nailed it when you said it has the annual feel. I think it's Byrne's first time writing Doom in the run, though, because I think he has taken over just a few issues prior. So
Okay.
I love it, man. The issue or the part of the issue where Sue is miniaturized and comes up on Doom beautifully playing the piano and is slightly entranced by it, and then like tries to blast him in the eyes, and she's like, I bet you don't have anything for that, and he just takes a cup and puts it on top of her, like calling her insolent insect and all that good stuff. Insolent buzzing gnat, he called her.
Right.
Fantastic, man. That's one of my favorite Doom moments. Yeah.
And I feel like I love that you pointed it out, because for me it's an example of what I feel like we've gotten a little bit of so far, but we tend to get a lot more of going forward, which is like how easy it is for Doom to succeed with these ridiculous plans, and then how bored he becomes when he wins. How absolutely exhausted he is. The French word is ennui. Like this I am just covered with exhaustion. I can't possibly go on because it was too easy to obtain victory against my foes.
Absolutely.
So he goes and he starts brooding, and he's playing his piano, and he's just like, this issue reminds me of that Batman animated series episode where Mad Hatter has trapped him in a memory where he's like, not Batman, and Batman doesn't exist anymore. And
that's a great one.
And Batman wakes up from it and fights back. And the big difference for me is the reveal, because the Mad Hatter is like so empathetic. He's like, I wanted to give you joy. I wanted to give you the happiest you could be. I wanted to give you everything. And, Batman is like, I have no joy in my life.
Yeah. Batman is joy.
Yeah. But the inverse is here, which is they start to suspect something's wrong. And then Doom shows up. He's like, yeah, it's wrong. I hosed you. I got you. You're stuck in my trap. Like his machinations are so nefarious and so evil. He's just he can't wait to like hold it over them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that scene that it's like the lights burn late at the Richards house that night. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, and Reed's like, all right, obviously the situation's pretty dire. Like
this is not good.
Yeah. The tables have turned in the worst way. It's like we thought we were dealing with the puppet master. We can handle the puppet master. Like
right.
The fact that we have a giant Doom looming over us does not bode well.
And we're basically like the size of an insect because we're trapped in like a Doom bot's mind, and like it's so hilarious to me.
It is great.
Yeah. So overall, I thought the issue was probably not my favorite in this section of the omnibus, but that's high rankings. I loved what comes out of it. And all the Doom moments, I loved. The Puppet Master stuff didn't hold as strong for me. But I was entertained by, for me, this was like the beginning of a new era in a lot of ways. And it felt that way. It felt like it had some kind of weight to it for me.
Absolutely. And like you said, I love the things that grow out of this. I love how these issues all kind of connect in their own special way. So, yeah. It's a cool first look. Christina.
Yeah. So, well, let's continue the story, because it does have connective tissue moving forward with issue 46, which is the next Doom issue that we get, which has to do with the Doom that got sort of trapped in the Littleville, finding a way to get back out again. And these two issues, so it's 46 and it's 47. I love this 47 cover so freaking much.
It's all timer, man.
He's teabagging a town. Like, it's hilarious to me. Like, he's just sorry. I didn't mean to catch you. Hopefully you're not gonna spit it out.
No, you're good.
It's hilarious.
I'm trying not to wake up the household. Yeah. That's hilarious, dude.
What's up, Kenneth? In the chat. And yes, thank you so much, Christina. That is Stu's link. It's in the description, but you can click it there and go right over so that you're there for the final installment when we get to the end of this omnibus. So this story has to do with 246, and I'll go back for that one for a sec. 246 has to do with him getting back out again, like escaping the place that he's in, and then ultimately convincing the FF to go to Latveria with him and deal with the fact that it has, without his stewardship, without him being in charge of Latveria, it has crumbled into a wasteland and needs him to lead a revolution to take it back. And he somehow convinces the Fantastic Four to aid him in regaining control of Latveria and bring it back to its former glory, which to me is bold in so many ways. And yet the fact that he's able to pull it off, it's such a wonderful twist on the design that you think of in your head as him as being this evil dictator.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about how you feel about this, because for me, the star of these two issues is Latveria, and I loved it.
Yeah, so 246 is great. Too Many Dooms. 247 and 248 to me are like two of the best Doom issues of all time. To me, I think they're just incredible standalone Doom stories. You know, the Fantastic Four is in there, but definitely serving a secondary purpose. And yeah, like he comes out guns blazing in 246, and you think it's going to be another big showdown with the Fantastic Four, but then he, requests their help and kind of flips the script. And he
shows them how Latveria looks.
Absolutely.
Like there's that splash page when it's like, this is Latveria, and they're all just like flabbergasted that the resistance revolution that helped plant this new leader, or Sorba, has just completely driven Latveria into disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Fantastic Four experiencing their interactions with Latvian citizens and seeing the effect of Doom's rule on the country. It's really, here it's like one of the most caring. It's real loving here. He's not his usual ruthless and regal self. Here he's the kind, benevolent leader, and that really comes across with, obviously, the birth of Kristoff and that character, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
But
who's a big part of the next arc, the next 3 issues too after this.
But I think it's man, I think it's, I love when the FF is within Latvian borders. I feel like we get some of our best Doom stories when that's the case, and he has kind of total control of the board. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And also the use of Doom bots in this is extremely effective. Because there are some, we do establish a very loving relationship with the population, with the civilian population, but he does
they're like waiting for him to come back.
Absolutely. But he does some straight up ruthless things at the same time in this one.
I mean, truly. We got Fable in the chat. What's going on, Station?
What up, brother?
Fable.
Station.
Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're going live tomorrow night. I did not check to see if you had a planned show coming up, one collection down tomorrow night. Blame Fable show's on, right?
It will be there. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So gang, you better be there live Friday night for
9 p.m. Eastern, guys.
Awesome. Some good stuff, because I'll be in the chat for that, and then I have a show I think after, when he's all wrapped up.
Nice.
So for me, these issues of retaking Latveria probably are at my favorites in this section. These might be my faves. It's just because, to your point, I feel like we've reached the tipping point. We've reached that moment when it's not just straightforward Doom the Malevolent. It's Doom the, oh wait, I have something to offer. Doom the valuable to his culture. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And for me, this is Doom as anti-hero.
Yeah.
Drink some water. But what are your thoughts on this as a tipping point for the character?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, not a lot earlier times when we see him in relation to Latveria and being in control and being in power, it's just him being ruthless, or it's kind of like a one-off gag. Here we're really building on the mythology, and we're really establishing, the rule of Doom, as it were, and what that would look like, for the first time in the streets on a civilian level. So I think it's different in that way, where before you just kind of saw him sweeping his subjects aside, but here you can see his true love for the country, something that has plagued him since birth. The barren the country was in rich and corrupt hands when he was a child and his parents were alive, and they hunted his father down, and retaking it and putting it in the right hands as he sees it has been a goal of his since he was a child. So it's really cool to see that kind of developed and not just see the one-off brutal Doom. We do see that, but it's also so much more, you know what I mean? But man, I just got to say that scene where he chokes his servant out and the way Byrne narrates that, it's like he thinks of his wife and his daughters before the final blackness. I'm like, man, that is a cold line. And he just illustrates it with his legs going limp. It's just it's so brutal and effective. Really well done.
Yeah, because they don't gloss over the fact that he is a killer and that he is vicious of mind. But this is, for me, when we start to see the humanity or the drive behind him being something other than just ego. I mean, ego is there, right? But there is a desire to better his citizenry that is, I think, maybe missing in some ways prior to this.
Very well said.
Right?
Yeah.
What's up, Christina? She says she's packing while she's listening. Tony's heading back out after dropping some great inappropriate jokes. I appreciate you, Tony, doing that. Catching the rewind later. Thank you, my friend. So for me, the splash page from seeing the Latverian town, was it Doom Castle, basically in Latveria?
Castle Doom, yeah.
All in shambles, to him retaking it, defeating Zorba. Zorba. Is it Zorba? Zorba.
Yeah, Zorba. Yeah.
And then it's also the looks on the FF's faces, while they're watching somebody that they had judged as being just one thing suddenly reveal a whole other side, and them being they even leave Latveria with this attitude of like, we should stop him, right? Like, do we stop? Are we stopping it?
It's like, bro, I kind of want to be. Can he be our team leader? I love that moment when Sue's like, he's so much more of a decisive leader than Reed, but I can't get swept up in his fervor. Like, you know what I mean? She's trying to resist Doom's wiles. She's like, oh my god. I wish he was our team leader, but it's so good.
It's very entertaining to me seeing the emotional struggles going on for the FF. Yes. I mean, obviously Ben just wants to knock the socks off of him every time anyways.
Every time.
But when they're kind of like forced to deal with the love that his citizens have for him, I think it's very entertaining to me. And then of course, you mentioned the little boy who loses his mom in this story, and then Doom adopts him. Doom takes the boy in and says, I'm going to take care of this kid, because that kid is the bridging element to the next 3 issues.
Yes. Mighty young Kristoff, poor young Kristoff. Yeah. Who, his mother, perishes by Doombot here, right? Zorba has or what are these guys called? Servobots, I think. There's so many.
Yeah, they don't look like Doom. Like some of the later bots all look like exactly like Doom.
But reprogrammed servobots take out Kristoff's mother, and we see Doom have a affection for this child in 247, and then 248. We see what Doom's plans are for him. He's basically, using them as a portable hard drive, I would say. He's downloading Doom. He wants to raise him in the ways of Doom, and for him to basically serve as a backup, as a body double, even more so than his Doom bots should should the occasion arise in the future.
I mean, there's a little bit of like, I want to make the best kid I can possibly make out of this. There's a little fatherly ego going on for sure. But it jumps into this issue, right? 258, when we're seeing Latveria now. It's only been 10 issues of comics for us, but in that 10 issues, Latveria instantly looks a heck of a lot better. Like it's almost like night and day, right? Between the Latveria that he was setting free and the one that we're getting here. Because I was going to hold this up real quick.
Let me
get rid of this. Like you can see the town. Now this spread page is happening, and it's like this is crazy how like this village has basically gotten back to all of its former glory. Everything is great again, right?
Yeah,
what were you, I mean, that when I flipped that page and I own this issue, I was like, oh, I had forgotten that's how this issue began. Was like Doom on the balcony doing his brooding thing,
yes,
looking down, and then it flips to that reveal, and you're like, what in the holy buckets is this?
It's glorious, man. And it's like it reminds me so much of Kirby too,
because they'd shown us how like disheveled and just
yeah,
kind of dystopian.
It was bombed out, man. Yeah, definitely looked.
After the revolution that Sorba and his crew had led to kind of like free Latveria from Doom's control. Yeah. So it was interesting. I love that they used another spread page now 10 issues later to kind of do the same reveal here in 258.
Yeah, absolutely. You sound like a little bit of a non-believer. I'll be honest that, that it took them. Doom could do it in a day, man. Come on. You got to.
It was an afternoon. I mean, they were already like whistling while they worked at the end of 247 and Reed and Sue are like leaving like, wow, everybody seems to be happy that they're going to work.
Didn't his dad die in a gulag? But it's all right. Right? It's all right.
Oh, yeah, who cares? Yeah.
Also,
now they're happy to have Doom, and they're talking about Doom like executing people and like quickly like basically reminding everybody like this is the rule of law. Follow it, get in step or get stepping.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The iron fist is there.
Oh man. And this is a great all-time great Byrne cover. Like this might be his Doom masterpiece, which is saying something. There's so many great covers that he's done for Doom. So yeah, let's talk about a little bit about, I guess, the story for 258. Do you want to sum up any of your thoughts on this? Obviously it connects to the issues we're going to go back from 57 through 60 that have to do with Silver Surfer and the cosmic power, right?
Yeah, it's so like we were saying, yeah, and Fantastic Four 57, 58, 59, and 60, Doom takes advantage of a naive Silver Surfer and steals the power cosmic. And like we've established as a theme with him, he gets bored with it fairly quickly after dominating the Fantastic Four and then the world powers at large. Yeah. So here we are in a similar situation where we have Hauptmann, the cousin of the guy who was helping Doom out the last time with the Silver Surfer.
There's always a Hauptmann scientist to be used and abused somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And but Doom this time, Doom's a little bit smarter with it. He gives the power cosmic to Terrax, and Terrax not knowing that he is a ticking time bomb. Basically, what is it? Something like 45 minutes.
Yeah, he's got a short chunk of time.
Yeah, so he releases him to engage with the Fantastic Four. Doom's plot being, if I remember correctly, he's going to come in and save the day at the last minute, but it definitely does not go according to plan in any sense of the word.
No. Yeah, his thinking was, I'm going to give the power cosmic to somebody whose body can handle it, and then send him out to kill the FF. And it doesn't matter who dies here. It's a win for me across all levels. I'll know how this machine that I've crafted will work in redistributing the power cosmic. I will maybe lose some of the FF, have eliminated some of them, and maybe they'll eliminate Terrax, and no matter how this plays out in his mind, it's going to work. And the worst case scenario, if he has to face Terrax, he knows that Terrax is not long for this world, and he'll beat him once the powers are gone.
Yeah, and Byrne doing this fight is incredible. I just love like pretty much a whole issue of action between Terrax and the Four, but just all the back and forth, like the giant big towers of dirt being thrown at Ben Grimm, and the lettering he used, and some of it's fantastic art. I love the way he does the action. But yeah,
because so this was more of a setup. This was a lot of the action, and then the third portion of this storyline is kind of the result, right? The epilogue, if you will.
Yeah, when Surfer gets involved. Yeah,
because at the end of the second issue, Surfer sees some signal in space that the power cosmic or some element of it is being used on Earth, and he bips down to kind of like figure out what's happening. So he does join up at this point.
Yeah, and he ends up being it's a good thing he's there too, because he's like the only one who can engage in and kind of hold his own with Terax. But yeah, Burn gives Doom a super melted fused armor. He can't move. He can't get out of there at all. He's completely fused in place. I love that scene. And he does the old opioid mind swap, which we saw way back in, I think that's early FF, like you're talking about your favorite era, John. But and he swaps with a nearby guy who looked like he was standing next to Aunt May. I always thought that was Aunt May, even though they didn't officially confirm it. But yeah, so Doom is able to get out of the situation by, even though he's fused in the armor and seemingly in a rough spot, able to mind swap his way out.
Because there's a big destruction explosion thing here at the end, and this cover is very much true to what happens in the book. And Sue's quite stunned reaction to the death of Doom, seemingly the death of Dr. Doom.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think of the ending?
I mean, I did not I don't know that I had read this issue. Like, I don't know, because I don't own it. I own 258. And I think I read 259 because I remembered the battle sequences. What is up, Eric? Side quest. What's going on, man?
Oh, man.
But I didn't remember this ending, and it's not long after. I want to say it's like 280 something that Doom comes back. So it wasn't like a huge chunk of time he was gone. Considering he's a villain, that doesn't seem like a massive, it's a couple of years, something. What's up, JSS is in the chat. What's going on, JSS? So I was shocked by how it ended, but also like unsurprised. I don't remember reading his return. The next time I remembered seeing him happens to be the Secret Wars, which comes right after this.
Yeah. It was a solid, great Doom arc, though. All-time for me. Yeah.
And to your point, I think you made earlier on, is 236 through this issue 260 is kind of one big Doom story, and it's nicely pieced together here in the omnibus that it contains this arc of him trying to get one over on the FF, and yet also trying to rebuild and reclaim Latveria. And what does that all look like from the perspective of power, right? The cosmic power, the political power of Latveria. It's all the drive inside of Doom here.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said.
Yeah. All right. So then the next storyline in the omnibus, and I didn't load all the covers. I just loaded this one because this is
that's all you need, man.
This cover is amazing, and I've got them all behind. I've got this run collected, I think now almost 3 times over. I am a big Secret Wars fan. I freely admit the great flaw in this, the several great flaws in the Secret Wars as a story. I can't stand the Wasp. Every time she talks in this damn story, I just want to rip the pages out. But for me, and when I met Jim Shooter in where was I? Then in MegaCon in Orlando. I got not this issue. Maybe it was this. Maybe my raw copy of this I got signed by him. I told him what I really like about it is that it's a Doom story. It's not a superhero, super villain battle. That's just the set dressing for this event. This is a Dr. Doom story, and you're really looking in at the cracks in his literal and figurative armor, right? We're looking in at this deeply trauma-scarred individual. And I love that the plot line, in a perfectly Doom kind of way, the plot is God brings you to this planet to battle for his entertainment, and Dr. Doom says, nah, I'm gonna kill God instead. That's the entire plot of Secret Wars, and all the best moments in Secret Wars attribute themselves to this concept that he is like, go ahead, fight over the table scraps. I'm gonna kill God. That's the Doom ego at play here, and I absolutely love it. So this is the issue when he figures out how to kind of harness some of what Galactus was doing when he was fighting with the Beyonder, and he faces off with him. And then, of course, the following issue, we get to see him without his mask on, and he's got the Beyonder's power, and he's made himself look so resplendent and handsome and all these things. And then he's going about using this power. And then, of course, those whispering thoughts creep in, and he can't hold on to it. He can't hold on to this power. It's too much power for a guy who's always craving more and more power. This is a wonderfully humbling moment where he's got to face the fact that this is too much power. I'm glad the Omnibus only collects issues 10, 11, and 12, and I don't think you need 1 through 9 from the perspective of Doom. But what were your thoughts reading these 3 issues, or at least examining them from the eye point of like Dr. Doom?
I completely agree with you. I do love I love the Doom moments in here, and these 3 issues are chock full of them, and I think they all do a really effective job at capturing the character. I think Shooter has a decent grasp on his voice, you know what I mean, when he talks for the most part. I really love the scene when he absorbs the Beyonder's power, and he's like on that landscape of Doom mask. You know what I mean? He's trying to like sort out all the voices he's got in his head, and he's got those masks everywhere. It's just a cool scene. I think Zek's art, man, is really.
Oh my gosh!
I think revisiting this for the first time in forever, John. It's been so long since I've read this, because I always just usually take a picture of the cover. I haven't read the issues in quite a while, so yeah, revisiting it and seeing the Zek art, really, I was like, I wouldn't really mind rereading this from start to finish. I think he goes for broke, and all those bombastic, crazy scenes with the Doom and the energy, really that
I was going to hold up some of those if you want to talk.
Absolutely, those are like the best ones, the best moments of the book.
Yeah, you get this like flight into space and his desire.
The rain coming down on him right there.
God. So good.
Unreal.
What wonderful background and color work and things going on. And then to your point, when he's then like facing back on his memories and his disheveled armor and what this battle with the Beyonder took from him. So strong. And then sorry, it's a heavy omnibus. Where's the one that this one, when you see him like examining the arm, the like examination of the armor, so fascinating.
I've never seen like a design or illustration like that with Doom in his armor.
It's giving me Darth Vader vibes, right? With like the pieces being put back together, and then you have to have one of these giant Doom lurking, pieces, and then of course he shrinks himself down, and this is ultimately almost the cover of issue 11, where he's like facing them with his mask off,
right?
And you get to see this, this iteration of Doom. So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to take
you're good
too long here, but like that for me, that's the juice in this book, and I love the way that Zek and Shooter handle all that stuff.
Yeah, what do you think about the Secret Wars design look for Doom with the how he doesn't have the cloak really, it's just the shortened.
Right. It's like the underwear and the
energy suit or whatever that he's got to wear. It's like, okay.
I mean, it's a non-traditional Doom costume
that's rough. Let's be honest.
To be the nice way to say it. Yeah. But it doesn't irk me. Like, I may have just had the action figure and just been down for all of it. But I absolutely get that it's not the norm. Brother Joe Station, man.
What up, Brother Joe? It's so weird that like you keep the hood but take the cloak. You feel so naked that way.
He's got the hood, but not the rest of it, right?
Yeah, he needs the cloak. He needs the cloak.
So I mean, I guess the final bit here at the end seems to be that Doom is like lost without the power, and the Beyonder just kind of vanishes him away, which is, if you're a Doom fan, a little anticlimactic. You're kind of like, what happened to my guy? Like, where did he go? And that's kind of how this story ends. That story ends.
Yeah.
So that would be my only like critique. Oh God, the cat's going crazy again. Get out of here, monkey. But thankfully, from there, sorry, did you have anything else? I know you're Secret Wars wise, you're good on that one.
No, yeah, I'm good on that one.
From there, we get the 2 Marvel graphic novels, which I've owned for a long time, and I've read Emperor Doom long ago. But yeah, we get Emperor Doom by Michelini and Bob Hall, and we also get Triumph and Torment, the Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, Mike Mignola, Roger Stearns. What I would say is classic. When people talk about Marvel graphic novels, there's obviously God Loves Man Kills and the New Mutants and the Death of Captain Marvel, and then I think this one gets thrown in a lot. Like I feel like it's represents the Marvel graphic novel line in a lot of ways for people. But I feel like this one gets overlooked. Yeah, this one I feel like it's overlooked, and I get why. It's more classically comic booky. It's all like West Coast Avengers, which can great with a lot of people. I don't know if some people are just not fans of the West Coast Avengers, might not like it as much, but I had a lot of fun reading this. I really thought it was funny. I thought it was kind of quirky and odd. The fact that Wonder Man is like the hero of this book,
it was strange in that way.
Kooky. The great use of the Purple Man. So the plot of Emperor Doom is Doom decides he's gonna, much like One World Under Doom happening right now. We get Doom with a plan to take over the world. And this time what it is I'm going to utilize the pheromones of the Purple Man and use this machine that amplifies his powers, strap him into it, and then manipulate the world into doing what I want because of the power of the Purple Man. And the only thing that he forgot about was Wonder Man. Like, this works remarkably well. He has even a plan for those people like Vision who are immune to the powers. He's got a plan for a lot of these people. And he just apparently completely overlooks Wonder Man being in like stasis, and it all kind of comes to a head as a result. But I'd love to hear your take on it, because maybe I'm just way too happy and kind on this book, but what were your thoughts on it?
No, I loved it. It's one of those Doom books where you know, like we were talking about earlier, he gets the big fat golden goose egg and doesn't really know what to do with it. He's happy when more conflict comes into his life.
Right.
But yeah, it's fantastic how he put all this together. Bob Hall's artwork is great. It's a really sleek, streamlined story. It doesn't waste a whole lot of time, not a whole lot of fat on it. But yeah, I love how he sends Namor out to take care of all the androids, Machine Man and Vision and Ultron, and Namor takes care of them, and really funny.
Yeah, this is another team up with Namor and Doom, who we've kind of seen in the Omnibus, at least up to now, having sometimes aligned goals.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just watching the progression of things, how they happened when the Avengers touched down, and immediately fall under his control, and how it's just so comical. There's so many comical moments where he's ordering them around like lackeys. You know what I mean? He's got especially jarring, always jarring to see Cap like serving every whim of Doom. It's great stuff, man. And that this one is one I like had read way back in the past. It was kind of forgot the story, but once you get back into the story, you can't help but remember it and fall in love with it again. So this one was great to revisit. It was a lot of fun, and it's like I feel like this and Triumph and Torment, they're not too long, they're not too short. You know what I mean? Like the length on these, they make for relatively quick reads. Like, because I was like, oh man, we got 2 graphic novels at the end of this, we got a lot of reading, but I got through both of these like fairly quickly, I felt like.
Yeah, and this one in particular felt brisk, and it may just have been the topic and the way that it's presented. And I think the West Coast Avengers of it all, it feels very much like popcorn in a lot of ways to me. Delicious and fun, and yet you didn't know how much you ate until you get to the end of it. It's like, and
So true.
I liked West Coast Avengers as a kid, but I also understood that like some of these characters are very grating and can be kind of annoying, but they're used well here. Like I enjoy what Wonder Man brings to this issue in a lot of ways. I enjoy this issue of this version of Tony Stark well enough to be able to get some entertainment out of the way he acts in this one. So I can understand people don't like West Coast Avengers could be like, yeah, this is just not what I want from a Marvel graphic novel, which are usually a lot headier and a lot more artistically, unusual and pushing the envelope in different ways. This one is far more traditional.
Absolutely. It definitely could have been an arc in in the series or something like that.
Oh, sure. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's up? Eric is saying, as 11-year-old-ish, I didn't notice anything weird with Secret Wars' ending. I was just cool. He dupes Namor, and it is what happens. It's true. Yeah, he does routinely take advantage of Namor, who is clearly more on the hero side than Doom is, and I think that happens as well here in Emperor Doom.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when he flips. He's got to flip over and slap it on what is it, Machine Man's back or something like that.
Yeah, they've got the little microchip. Yeah, the little controlling microchip.
Yeah.
And then of course, this all culminates in Namor feeling betrayed and then going in and busting the machine with Purple Man, and Purple Man, that might be my favorite. And maybe I'll open my version of this up here. It might be my favorite art drawing piece. Let me get rid of the media here. It is the look on Purple Man's face when he's just kind of like, wait, what about me?
Yeah.
Namor is just like, I'm gonna bust this machine wide open, and Purple Man's like, I'm stuck inside. What are you doing?
I love too when he's trying to control Doom. Yeah, he's like, no man's willpower can be that power strong. No man's will can be that strong. It's just like a great shot of
Doom. And then Doom's like, I'm gonna take this whole suit off. Yeah, you turn your pheromones on me, see what happens.
Exactly.
He tests himself with the Purple Man's ability, because he's like, I know my will is strong enough to withstand this.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great little scene.
Let's finish it out with some Mike Mignola, this classic Strange and Doom storyline. If you've been following along with us, or you're a Dr. Doom fan and maybe haven't read this one, I'd highly recommend it, because this is ultimately, in a lot of ways, the culminating element of some of the breadcrumbs we've gotten so far concerning Doom's mom. This idea that on a yearly quest, Doom has been trying to free his mother's soul from some strange deal that has happened between her and Mephisto, and seems to be related in some ways to his mother's sorceress abilities. And so this story has to do with him doing a favor for Strange, and seemingly already set to go with, can you do me a favor in return? Like, what I need is help going to Mephisto, battling our way through in a sort of Dante's Inferno kind of way, battling our way through to Mephisto and freeing my mom's soul. What are your thoughts on this one? Because obviously, I think for a lot of people who love, Dr. Doom, this is the book in this omnibus.
I like this one. I don't know if I like it as much as its acclaim and it's known for. You know what I mean? I think it's fantastic. I do love how it follows up on, like you said, on that bit of Doom origin and his close relationship with his mother and all that.
Right.
And it's dope to see the early Mignola artwork, but it's always, I don't know how to put it. It's always, I don't know. I think it is a seminal Doom story, but at the same time, there's so many other ones I would put ahead of this one. But I do think it's important for that that mother aspect and the fact that, you know, her soul's trapped there and all that. It's just not my personal favorite for reasons I don't feel like I'm articulating very well. I think early on it was one that was always forced on me as like one of those must reads, and when I did read it the first time through, it just didn't blow me away, and I feel like that's maybe I kind of always tainted it a little bit with me. So I don't know. I have picked up, you know, appreciation for it, you know, obviously growing into a huge Mignola fan later in life as well. So
it's funny because I have a very limited exposure to Mignola's artwork. I've only read a handful of things. I've never been a Hellboy reader, so I've not, you know, crashed that universe at this point. So it's only been when he pops in and out of things that I read, like classic X-Men. I felt like I saw him doing the backup stories in a few of those. Didn't he do Death in the Family, Batman's Death in the Family?
Yeah, those covers are all time, man. Great call.
So this was always the book that I remembered him most from, for me. And I will say I read this once when I was younger, in some kind of a trade paperback or something. And then it was a couple of years ago that I finally got a first print of the graphic novel. But for me, this is like, I love this as a mother-son story.
Yeah.
I love this in the way that there was that, you know, usually you get brooding doom, right? Looking out over the city. But in that one, was it the ASM annual where he fails to get his mom back, or what was it in the?
That was one of those Tales to to Astonish, I think. Yeah. Like number 8 or something.
That one, which I had never read till we started doing this, for me, that brooding moment when he's looking out over the you know, the reign of Latveria, for me was like, wow, okay, this was a different doom brood moment. It's not I failed, I'm horrible. It was more like, I owe my mom something. Like there was a little more like tragedy to it. And this for me is completely built on that tragedy. And having read this before that, it was weird how that informed this in a way. Like it was kind of a fun push and pull. And the way this ends again with him, you know, brooding over the city and dealing with maybe getting what he wanted, but it didn't work out quite like he had planned. I missed this from Mad Spidey. He sent a super chat. What is going on, Simon? I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you coming by first thing in the morning, probably your time. Let's see what my daughters have to say about your super chat here.
Mom called the doctor. The doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed."
Yeah, no more monkeys jumping on the bed, Simon. So keep those monkeys off the bed. I appreciate you, buddy. For me, I absolutely loved the rereading experience, having framed it a little bit with some of the other stuff that we've read. And I was surprised I liked Emperor Doom more this time through, but it may just have been the familiarity with this more so than Emperor Doom. And so that's ultimately why I think this came in a close second for me.
Yeah, I still think there's a tremendous amount of mine there when it comes to Doom and his mom, you know? Because all that, you're first introduced to him with just his relationship with his dad, and his dad's kind of his primary caretaker, and finding his mom stuff and getting like so taken with her. You know, the fact that she was a sorceress and not wanting to learn the black magic. I think there's still plenty more to do than just going and trying to win her soul back. You could do a flashback tale early on or something, you know.
For sure. And I'm hoping that some of the Book of Doom or whatever is coming up might go back to this place again. I'm assuming that this is not the last time that Doom and his relationship with his mom has come into comic.
Yeah. And it's funny, dude, because you look at the women he chooses; they're all dark sorcerers. You know, you like Scarlet Witch and Morgan Le Fay. Yeah, like it's funny how
in the Marvel universe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how things develop.
Brother Joe saying, "Gentlemen, may I say the way you analyze the history of comics is amazing." Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Joe. That is a very kind compliment, my friend. So yeah, that's how this section of the omnibus wraps up. From here, we will be back over on Stu's channel for the finale of the omnibus, which is a bunch of more modern FF runs. Some of the stuff that really leads into the year 2000, and then that mini series, the Book of Doom.
Yeah, I think we get to do some Walt Simonson Fantastic Four too. So
yeah, yes, indeed. Fun. Yeah. Any last thoughts? Oh no, wait. We were gonna look at FF. Sorry, I forgot. See, look, I'm so distractible. I forgot we were gonna at least touch on this because it's not in the omnibus. This was not included. 57, 58, 59, and 60. The original story where Doom basically just straight up cons Silver Surfer out of his powers.
He's basically like, hey, look over there.
Yeah. Sucker punches him and just steals it. And then runs around the Marvel universe, basically rubbing it in everybody's faces, saying like, look, you can't defeat me. Your 4 friends can't defeat me. None of you all can defeat me now. Until obviously Silver Surfer's like, no backsies. Like, give me my powers back.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on on this story and the exclusion? The fact that it wasn't in the omnibus.
Well, I think it's important for the Doom canon because it's one of those first storylines that really establishes him being, hoarding a tremendous amount of power, being successful in that endeavor, and then becoming bored with it. I think it's one of those first storylines where we get that.
It does follow that pattern.
Absolutely. And it's for me, it's important because it's Kirby at some of the height of his best work on the title, and it's one of those. It's a 4-issue arc, so it's a sign that comics is starting to mature a little bit. The right. Stories are starting to be a little bit more long form, and it's a great story through all 4 issues, and it's got some incredible moments, man. Some all-time, like I said, some all-time Kirby panels and pages. So yeah, I feel like you can really feel the ambition with this one. This is, Lee Kirby knowing what they have and really swinging for the fences. And I think it really sings, and like you said, sets up Secret Wars, sets up so many, like it's like a template of Doom in so many ways, and as far as like what his MO is, and yeah, so
well, and he had just introduced the Silver Surfer, so Silver Surfer really still a new character, and this in a lot of ways helps refine and define what his power set is and what his function is in the universe at large. Now I think in a lot of ways this was pivotal for Surfer as well. And so Surfer appearing and Doom appearing and the FF having to deal with all of it. It was a kind of eye-opening story. And I want to say I had never read all 4. I think I can't remember which ones I had read for 57, 58, 59, and 60, but I appreciated you in a big way mentioning this, because I was like, oh, this was a wonderful opportunity for me to go back and actually read all of these.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you doing so. And also, one thing, it's got the Inhumans backstory, secondary story that it holds up, and that holds up very well. So it balances. It's got a lot going on, and I think it succeeds on all fronts.
And then, so you, to your point too, it's a strange omission. Obviously, a massive omnibus, and 4 more comics might have just been the tip.
I'm just saying, like we got a lot of those, the amazing or the Tales to Astonish or some of those,
right?
I felt like, or maybe even some of those supervillain team ups we could have left out and favor of these, but
in favor of these, yeah.
At the same time, I feel like where we're at now and what we've gone through, they did a pretty solid job with the selections for this Omni. You know what I mean? There are some that I would think twice on, but I feel like they've got most of the big ones.
Yeah. So if you're reading the omnibus and we're asking questions about, wait, Doom had the Silver Surfer's power, I didn't remember when that happened. Like, here are the 4 issues you may want to cut into your reading and add into the omnibus for yourself, whether that's through the app or finding the issues in the wild. I mean, they're not inexpensive issues. Stanley and Jack Kirby and Silver Surfer and Doom issues of Fantastic Four will set you back a couple of pennies. But
get that Marvel Unlimited app, y'all. It's a great app. Really is.
It's a really well done app for sure, and it's
like
easy
the
to
best
find
comic
things and read
reading
them.
app. You know, I think
so
Marvel's got a lot of things to fix, but they definitely nailed that
app. There you go. So that's that officially, now is the last part of this episode. And like we've been saying all along, episode 4 is over on Stu's channel. I think we had set a date for like the 22nd of April. I can't even remember, something like that. So about a month from now. If you're following my channel, I'll post it in the community tab when we go live over there. But just hit the link that Christina dropped or the one in the description. Subscribe, hit that notification bell so that when we go live and you want part 4 of this omnibus, you want to see how it wraps up. It's a ton of new stuff for me, so I'm very excited to get into that, and you won't want to miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this with me, bud.
Oh, for sure, man. I loved it.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. I can't wait to wrap it up. Kind of bittersweet that it's coming to an end, but regardless, there will always be more Doom, right?
The Doom fan club continues, right?
Yes, there will always be more Doom.
Do you have anything coming up or recently dropped that you want to let people know about?
So yeah, I was on Ink and Insights this past Wednesday on my channel, where my buddy Eric and I from 9 Panel Grid talk our favorite new comic book releases. I was just on Blood Splatter Chatter tonight with Verno, talking Reanimator, talking horror every Thursday with Verno, and I'll be on Blaine Fable and His Amazing Friends tomorrow night at 9. I also will be dropping my Surrounded by Short Boxes video probably tomorrow morning, covering Marvel's number 3 by Alex Ross and Kurt Busiek, going over
great series,
Galactus versus Fantastic Four. Yeah, so check me out over at Dr. Doom's Fan Club.
For sure. Gore, thank you for coming by, man. I appreciate you, sir.
Kirby Surfer is the best Silver Surfer too.
Yep. I agree. I
agree
I
love
that
Mobius, but it's got
no shame. Yeah, no shame on Mobius. But yeah, and that's a great scene in Crimson Tide, which I just rewatched with my girls the other day.
Such a great movie.
Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. So huge thank you for everybody coming and hanging out with us tonight and talking Doom and enjoying the classic comic book chat. And like I said, we'll be back on Stu's channel soon enough. And until then, have a great night, gang.
Later, y'all.